Hi, and welcome back to Empowerment Unleashed Now. Today, Scott and I have Leland Holgate Sr. with us. This is going to be a deep dive of the warrior from within, moving from adversity to empowerment and how we do that. Leland is a combat veteran who was a quadriplegic, which is something that you don't usually get to put together in a sentence, which in and of itself just evokes so much curiosity. He now helps people to actually do what it is that he figured out how to do using a method that he's created called the Welcome Home Method. He helps people all across the globe. He has transformed beyond what I think anyone that initially told him, hey, this is your diagnosis and this is how your existence is going to be, how anyone could have ever thought that this is where he would end up. He's currently, I believe, almost a neuropsychologist right now as well, and just an incredible human being. And so I just like to send like waves of love and light to Leland Holgate Sr. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Oh my God, Leland, what are you feeling most empowered about in your life at this time?
That I am on the right path, and not because of the things I continue to experience personally, but because of the things that my warriors continue to, share with me, their wins and all the alignment that they continue to see happening in their life. My goodness.
Oh my God. So Leland, where do we even begin? Because just the sentence that I said, which is, was a quadriplegic. That's just not something that people typically, and I love that right away we're kind of messing with people's constructs, like was a quadriplegic, and I think also was a paraplegic.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, happened twice. Wow. Apologies. We have a very small airport near us, so you might hear that occasionally. But yeah, there was the accident in the military, and then there was the accident in 2019. So wow. Got to visit it twice. I guess the universe just wanted to make sure that I locked that lesson in, learned enough from that one, and didn't have to experience it again.
Wow. Leland, so tell us, if you would, the quadriplegic, the initial, and then if you would follow up with, because people just have to understand this intimately to really get the power of this.
Yeah. So in 1999, I was active duty military, U.S. Air Force, C-130 Loadmaster. So I was part of one of the most deployed squadrons in the U.S. military.
Thank you for your service, Leland. Thank you. It
was an honor. It was an honor. So we went over, of course, to protect the people of Kosovo and Albania from what was happening in that region. And when we came back, as you can imagine, I had a lot of stress to offload. Yeah. There's quite a bit to get rid of there. So they gave us a 3-day pass, which means we can just go do whatever we want. You guys have the weekend, go enjoy, just relax, let go of everything. And I'm sure you can imagine, as a combat veteran, I can't just ride a scooter or do something low rev. It's got to be something that gets your haunches up and kicks the neck hairs up. So we go out and we get a very fast watercraft, and we're inner tubing on the lake in Heber Springs in Arkansas, where I was stationed.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned there, it's like I couldn't just do the normal inner tubing. Like, I was pushing this guy and goading him to take it faster. Let's take this to the edge. And he did. He listened to what I had said and took it up to a very, very high speed. And the moment that the boat cut left, I kind of had a preview of what was about to happen. Like, okay, this is probably not going to be good. There was no holding on to this thing. It slung me off like a slingshot. And the moment I hit the water, that was it. Just blacked out. Everything was off. And in that moment, I didn't know this yet until they had brought me back, but I was dead for 3 minutes and 48 seconds. I had snapped the neck right at C1 and C2. So thankfully, my buddy right there, because I'm floating face down in the lake, wraps me around his body like a belt and gets me into the shoreline on his wave runner as fast as possible.
Wow.
And one of those coincidences, right? We all talk about coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. State trooper is right there. So he immediately runs over. There's no waiting for the responder. Thankfully, the first responder was already there. And he runs over and begins to resuscitate me. Finds no pulse, no breath, of course. And it was the most surreal experience that I have. And when I think about it, it's the reason I call the method the welcome home method. I had one of those out-of-body experiences. And I was watching this gentleman revive me. And I described it to my friends, and they're like, how did you even know that? And I just remember looking over his shoulder, but there was no wants. There was no thoughts. There was no concerns or worry. It was just absolute peace, everything and nothing all at the same time. So he revived me, thankfully, and they got me into the ambulance and headed towards the hospital. And the entire time, once I come back, of course, I slam back into my body. Next thing I know, I'm in an ambulance. I've got a horse collar around my neck. I'm just shy of my 20th birthday. So, I'm a 19-year-old kid. I just got back from the war, absolute opportunity and power in my life. And now I'm hearing this guy as I come to ask me if I could feel that. And once I could finally regain consciousness fully and understand what he was asking, I was like, what are you talking about? And all I heard was, oh no. Something you never want to hear from your EMT. You don't want to hear that from your pilot. You don't want to hear that from certain people. Oh, no.
Right.
And that was when he had imparted on me that he had been stabbing me in the body with a hypodermic needle, just double checking nervous function. And I couldn't feel anything. And that's when sheer terror set in. I couldn't feel anything from the neck down.
Bless. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So they got me to the hospital, did the MRI, CAT scan, MRI. And when the doctor came in, he had told me that they found a silver dollar size contusion at C1 and C2. Yeah. So it was a spinal compression. When I hit the water, the vertebra just pushed in on the spinal column. And as the body does, it protects itself, just shuts everything down from the Adam's apple down. So yeah, that was the initial experience, like how that came to be. Yeah, it was something that I never want to experience again. I hope nobody ever gets to experience.
Oh God.
And I think one of the hardest things for me, and this is what, is kind of pushing me to become a doctor in a different sense, because I don't want to be a pharmacologist. But when he walked into the room, he just vacuumed the hope right out of it. This is 1999. So neuroplasticity was still a baby. It was a conversation that neuroscientists and neurologists were having.
Yeah.
But it was still not widely accepted just yet. We were still getting around the idea that not just the body itself, but the nervous system can actually change and shift due to trauma or, accidents or any kind of injuries that happen.
Yes.
So based on his information and knowledge, and I don't blame him, you do the best you can with the information and knowledge and your training that you were given. But as far as he told me, you can't heal spinal tissue. You can't heal nervous tissue. Once you damage these things, it's kind of a permanent bum rap. So, he started doing the managing life expectations, and let's put in wheelchair ramps. And that at 19 years old, you don't want to hear stuff like that.
No.
So that sent me into a 3-day spin, one of those just dark nights of the soul.
Oh my gosh. Beyond. I mean, you're 19 years old and you're hearing that literally your body, quote unquote, is shut down.
Right.
And you're trying to digest that, but yet within you, there was neuroplasticity. There was a programming that had gone on in the military.
Right.
Talk to us about that, if you would, Leland, because that's astounding when somebody tells you, hey, this, and this are never going to happen for you. And you say, okay, according to you.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that was the thing, right? Because of course, initially you're the authority. Of course, you know what you're talking about. I bow to your knowledge. I bow to your wisdom. So crap. All right. I'm screwed based on what you told me. And then after I got over the woe is me, and it got bad enough to the point where I was asking, elite forces, special forces buddies of mine to just kill me. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to live like this. Please just take me out. And once I finally got past some of these things, right about the second day, I started tuning into SEER training, which is survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. If anybody's seen G.I. Jane and any of these other movies, that's where they put us through POW camp, prisoner of war training. They teach us to never give up, to always try to escape, always try to evade. You're not forgotten. There's always one more thing that you can do. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. We're coming for you. And that started to really dig in my head. And then something shifted in me where I was like, hold on a minute. If that's the case, then that has to relate to every aspect of my life. That can't just be in military training. That's got to be true everywhere. So I started to really dig into that and really hold that in my heart, that there's one more thing that I can do. There's something that I can do here. And for me, it hit me. I was like, okay, start to believe that these things are possible. Then there's the one more thing that you can do. Give yourself the permission to believe against what the authority is telling you. Challenge the narrative, Leland. Think about this in a different way, and let's see what happens.
Yes.
And it was one of those moments. The doctor comes in on that third day. He's doing the managing expectations speech and telling me what's possible. And I couldn't help it anymore. Like I was revolving all of that around in my mind, and I literally just exploitive no. The moment he said it again, I was like, F no, doc. Like this is not going to be my situation. And the moment I screamed F no, my brachial plexus lit up, and it's this complex of nerves, this big group of nerves in your shoulder. And I felt this just rush of energy travel down towards my shoulder blades. And the moment that happened, you can imagine, eyes went wide. I was like, whoa, all right, that's the first time I felt anything below my Adam's apple. Yes. So while I rest on your knowledge and wisdom, Doc, I'm going to need you to go ahead and leave and tell my friends to come in, because I got different conversations to have right now other than can't. Yes.
And so begins a totally different outcome, right? Than ever anticipated.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I have personal interest in this, as well as being told somebody that was, if I didn't do X, Y, and Z, I would be dead before my next birthday. And so, when people talk about, they'll be like, oh my gosh, Michelle, that was so brave to go against what, and I always say, hey, wait, hold up a second. Like, there was nothing brave in that. It was survival. And that's what I'm hearing from within you, is that one more thing, Leland, was like, okay, wait a second. There's something else here that I can do to push myself forward.
Yeah.
No matter what they're telling me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's super powerful within us as humans. I would say that it's our higher self, our other than conscious, our super conscious mind, our soul self, the we and the me, when you told the doctor, like, hey, dude, like, I have a different plan with my friends and stuff, you must have been met with like resistance, and I'm being polite.
Yes. Yeah, there was definitely some resistance. he gave me the moment and said, I'm going to let you talk with your friends, but remember, I'm the medical professional and I'm going to be able to help you with these things. Which, like, when he said that, I was like, hold on, do you remember what you said to me day one? Like, okay, all right, I'm going to talk with my friends, Doc. I'll talk to you later. Yeah, so there was definitely some pushback there from him. And again, it's like, I don't blame him. It was he's running his program, what they trained him to do, what he thinks is possible. So, you know, on the same side as you, I knew differently from that point forward, and I was going to move forward as such.
So, I mean, man, both of you, I just have to say, with your stories, and you humbly said it wasn't brave, Michelle, but from a third outside perspective, I feel like both of you, what you chose to do, those choices do take bravery. Bravery is necessary when it comes to renovating your belief systems. And Leland, it's really interesting you mentioned that, like the beliefs were such a big part, because before you came on, we were having a big conversation about belief systems being in Sagittarius season right now, and how opportunistic it is to completely renovate those. But I'm curious, because you did mention survival, Michelle, and this could be for both of you guys, but how, you know, when you were clicking, how important was it for you, and it must have taken bravery, to trust your intuition? Like, how involved was your intuition and instinct in that survival choice? Because you are being told someone else, a different belief system, straight to your face, that is collectively viewed as the authority or the higher intelligence. But you were trusting your intuition and instinct, your heart, to be the authority and the higher intelligence. That takes bravery.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, how did you do that? How did you find that strength?
You know, it's funny because I stumbled onto it by accident, right? Just thinking through that military training once again and recognizing, like, whoa, hold on a minute. They had me in prisoner of war camp. Like, that was end of life. I was done. There was no way to get out of this. And somehow they trained us to get out of this situation. So that's when that, you know, the intuition took over. I got into my heart a little bit more and got out of my head and recognized, okay, there is something I can do. I can't see it yet, but I know it's there. Just like anything else that I had been through in the military training, it's like, I know there's something there. There's something there for me in this situation that I can distill out of this. And all I got to do is believe that it's possible. And that was when my intuition really spun into overdrive.
So you felt the connection more in your heart here when you were connecting to that intuition, intelligence.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was an almost immediate, like, okay, I'm no longer worried or concerned anymore. Yeah, there's some minutia that I'm thinking through of what to do next and all these other things, but it's like the worry and concern evaporated and absolute potential had set in my heart.
Is that something you impart and teach to your warriors about, like that being a vessel and a tool to connect to your intuition, like going through here? Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, the way I move through this is from a dual faceted approach, because I am all woo-woo and spiritual. I'm a yoga instructor, and I've worked through the energetic side of teachings and everything else, read the Tao, the Upanishads. And then, of course, I'm over studying psychology and physiology and neuroscience. And I'm now a heart math certified trainer as well. And that's one of the biggest things we teach as a heart math certified trainer is there's 40,000 neurons on the backside of this beautiful thing that we call a heart at the center of you. And this is actually main brain. That's brain number one. 80 to 90% of the signals are efferent. They go up to the brain, not the other way around. And then from there, the brain is just a bioorganic, you know, prediction model and engine that allows you to control the rest of the body. So it's something that I really instill inside of the warriors, letting them know that the further into your heart that you get, you find the energetic and spiritual side of it. And physiologically, you're making real changes inside of the body.
Yeah. I love your expansive approach to rehabilitating the mind and body and spirit, like not being, like being inclusive, not leaning either way. It's like the yin yang, right? Just spinning, and you're tapping into whatever is most necessary for that moment to heal. I say it almost every episode, but like what you've done to me, like you would be a double black belt in, I call it the martial arts, like the way Bruce Lee created Jun Ki Do, took all the martial arts but created this customized thing, right? And I feel like empowerment and the Aquarius going forward is about us all doing exactly what you're doing, taking all the vessels and customizing something, your martial art, which obviously beyond has worked for you, and now you're like teaching others to do that, to have that ability. So deep martial art thou.
Thank you.
And again, grateful to have you here. Extraordinary.
Yeah.
So, Leland, one of the questions that I was going to ask you is that in developing your martial art, as Scott so adequately and eloquently has put it, isn't it the best? It's the best. Bro coined this like a few weeks ago, and I'm just like loving everything about it. But in your toolbox, like, what is a step, an actionable step like this somebody can take today to get into their heart? And then we want to find out how, like, we can become one of Leland's warriors and how you healed yourself. But what's one step that people can take to get in touch with that today?
Yeah. There is, no matter the teaching, whether it is Eastern or Western, the entry vector to everything is your breath. As long as you can slow your breath and slow that process, everything else follows. So it is literally and I always use the term simple. I never tell people easy, because of course this life is not easy. My God, it's not meant to be. This is a spiritual training ground. We came here to forget on purpose so that we could remember we are the one. So it's not easy at all, but it's very simple when you just allow yourself to step away from external stimuli, opinions, everything else that's happening that takes you away from the inside, the internal, and the you, and just slow the breath and watch what happens. Watch your heart rate lower. Watch your mind start to silence down like a little 5-year-old. You put it back in the car seat where it belongs instead of letting it drive the car like it shouldn't be right now. So, and if you guys want, one of the best tools ever, I love having this out there as a free resource. For 2 minutes, I can take you through one of the heart math techniques that is the simplest technique you'll ever learn in your life. And it is literally just about tuning into your heart and shifting your breath.
I was hoping you would say that, Leland. We do.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So wherever you are, just let yourself sit back in your chair. Let your hands rest on your knees. And you can do this with eyes open or closed. This is what's so beautiful about this technique, is you can do this anywhere, in the meeting where somebody's making you mad, or if little Johnny's kind of getting on that last nerve. You can do this while you're driving. So just let yourself sit, eyes open or closed, whatever is good for you in the moment, and focus on your heart. You can place your hand over your heart to tune in to that physiological location. And imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area. Breathing a little deeper and a little slower than usual. You can inhale for 5 seconds and exhale for 5 seconds, or whatever rhythm is comfortable for you, so long as the inhale and exhale are even. and set a meaningful intent to anchor in that feeling of stillness or inner ease to balance your mental and emotional energy. And as you breathe even on the inhale and exhale, tune in to your heart. Notice any messages, perhaps a knowing or a feeling, or maybe even a visual. Continue to breathe even as you slowly start to bring that message back to the here and now. When you're ready, you can open your eyes if you close them and come back to the room. And just notice that shift that happens so quickly and so simply in the body.
So perfect. So perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Leland. That's just, and not proud of this, but my little Gemini rising, I'm not great at the sit, right? The sit. And so it's super inspirational to have like a Gemini sun sign sitting in front of me, telling me that the breath and my sitting, I mean, I sit for 12 minutes most days, and you would think that it's an eternity. But what I loved about this is the breath. If I could do this before I sit for 2 minutes, I'm already there, and I'm far more willing to sit, because like once I'm there, while we were just doing this little group activity, I was like, oh God, don't go too far in, Michelle, because if you don't open your eyes, it's not gonna be okay. Like, you gotta know what's going on, because it's like, I'm so starving for it. Like, I'll immediately like just go like, hi, yes, the trans junkie is back. Thank God. Okay, here she goes all the way down. Scott, you're really good. You breathe. Like, that's where you and Leland, Scott, like share. Like, Leland,
Yeah.
you healed yourself with breath work.
Yeah.
I mean, would you agree, Leland, that, well, first of all, I agree with you when you mentioned that it's, Earth School is not supposed to be easy. That's not why we waited and like we're blessed enough to be chosen to even come have this experience, right? So ultimately what we're doing here is like we're trying to remember it all. That's a big statement.
Remember.
And
rejoin.
We're reactivating our crystalline structure, remembering all of it, all the times, all the lives, all of it. But I feel like, would you agree that the most direct route to being able to remember, I believe, and then to our empowerment, is our breath. Like if we could simplify it all, the 2-hour show into 2 minutes, I mean, I think it's breath and our relationship to it that helps us remember our empowerment, remember this is an experience. And really, like, the breath is what activated our emotional fields and our emotional bodies and feelings when we entered, right? When we got in the skin suit, the breath is what activated our ability to have emotions and feelings, which are activated by our large moon, which is our intelligence source here, not here. Absolutely. It's one thing you can do daily for 2 minutes to like anchor your entire existence. It's a conscious breath exercise.
It is literal magic, right? And people hear magic.
Yeah.
They hear magic and they think of, Harry Potter and all these other things. Like, no, it's frequency, energy, and vibration. And just like you mentioned, the breath is the first thing you do when you enter this skin suit, when you enter this world. It's the last thing you do before you exit. It is what you must do to enter, and it is what you must do to exit the spiritual training ground. So that gives us all we need to know how powerful it is. It controls absolutely every aspect of our life.
And I love how you mentioned that it's like the willingness to be able to use it as a tool as you navigate your daily life, right? You have a stressful experience at work. I can teach. So I'm a tennis coach on the side, and I teach my players on the changeover to do the alternate nostril pranayama breath, because you only have like 60 seconds. So like, boom, you do that 2 or 3 times, and like your heart rate is down. But also steadies the mind back into a present moment. But like beyond that, beyond athletics or like military, obviously how valuable is it there? But just, you have a stressful boss, or like your relationship stressful, or whatever it is. It can be powerful to have, because you don't have this 2 minutes. There are other small tools. Like you can have like a couple alternate nostril breaths, and like really it can help. It can change. Oh my God. It can change your experience immediately.
Yeah. In a huge way, like you said, like in an enormous way. And here's the funny thing is, as you mentioned, and as we've talked about, it's so simple. I think that's why it flew over my head for so long. It flies over so many people's head, because they're like, there's no way it's that simple, and I tune into that myself when I think about it. Before I really started digging into this, that there's no way that it can be this easy or this simple. Like, stop it.
No, that's what I was going to ask you, Leland, is what led you to breath as the primary tool of your healing? Like, you're a kid. What guided you there from your earth experience? Obviously it was your higher self, but your earth self, how did you find your way through this?
So, after that moment with the doctor, always, right, when the student is ready, the teacher shall appear. And in that moment, when I had finally decided that this was not going to be my experience, this was not going to be my forever, like this doctor is trying to sell me on, and that I could make whatever I wanted out of this situation. The next day, wouldn't you know, and get this for coincidence, 1999, I'm in the military. The one male physical therapist that the military gives me is also an Ashtanga yogi. Like, are you kidding me? Like, how is that? Come on. Like, he's a physical therapist, and this is 1999, and he's an Ashtanga yogi. Like, shut up. Oh my God, this is amazing. So he walks in, and there I am laying in bed, and he tells me, we're not just going to go through the typical physical therapy type stuff. And we're going to stretch. We're going to do all these things. We're going to do everything the doctor wants you to do based on your protocol and how we need to work through this. But I'm also going to start teaching you yoga. And you can imagine, at the age of 19, I'm laying there paralyzed from the neck down. I look at him and I'm like, dude, if I could move my legs right now, I'd kick you in the throat. Yoga. Like, what kind of joke is this to tell me? Like, this is ridiculous. And that's when he hit me with it. He was like, 4 sutras out of the 196, which are these threads of knowledge. One sutra can be like 2-3 paragraphs long. 4 of them are about what you see in the, very hot Lululemon pictures that you see for people doing asana or the physical practice side of things. 4 of them are about the physical practice. 192 of them are all about pranayama, the management of the mind and the management of the breath that then controls the life force that runs throughout every single part of us. So when he hit me with that, I was like, all right, maybe I'll calm down a little bit. I'll give this a try. Let's see what you got, Doc. And again, after I tell you this, I'll take you guys through something 60 seconds, like Scott was saying, super quick, something everybody can try. But he did this to me, right? For him, it was more of about a 3-minute breath blast that he took me through. It was just 30 breaths in and out. in and out through the nose, a Tumo style breathing, mouth closed. And immediately while I was breathing, I was like, hold on a minute. I'm starting to already tune into these little pinpoints, like not much, but there's little pinpoints of something happening in the top parts of my shoulder as I'm doing this and breathing. And he has me hold, and in yoga, we call these kumbakas. And kumbakas are revered because, again, you're finding, like Scott said, you're finding that center in the yin and the yang, right? You're being in chaos. Chaos itself is not intrinsically bad. It is not intrinsically good. It's pure potential. It is absolute possibility happening. The only reason we call it bad is because we keep sticking our hand in the fire thinking, I'm going to change that. And then we get burned. Of course. No, you're supposed to be right here in the center. And that's what those kumbakas teach us is, okay, you've just created chaos. You just created absolute potential and possibility. Now sit with that and imagine what's happening. Feel into this. Visualize what you would like to happen. And my God, that first time that I went into that breath hold, there it was. I was back in that position watching the guy, you know, it felt the same as watching him revive me. Peace. Not a thought, not a worry, not a concern, and things happening down my shoulders, moving into the top parts of my arms, like, what in God's name did you just do to me? So that was it. I was hooked. You can imagine I dug in like a tick after that.
I love it. I love it. Oh.
So you changed your frequency and immediately attracted.
Yes.
Yeah, it was an immediate, and that was the thing for me. Yeah. And it's funny because now I get to watch other I call them spinal cord champions, not spinal cord injuries. Yeah. So I get to watch other spinal cord champions do it too. Their first time, somebody that hasn't felt anything below their belly button for 10 years does a breath thing, and they come out eyes wide open. And I was like, yep, I know what you're about to say. What? Go ahead, tell me. He's like, I felt sensations in my legs. I don't know what the hell that was, but I could feel the tingles going down my legs. It's like, there you go. You did that. You did that. That's your power. I just got to be the lighthouse on the shore. And I like to remind people of that all the time. As a facilitator, both breathwork and plant medicine, I'm just a space holder. I'm just the guy that figured something out. And now I'm passing it on to you. You did all the work. You did the magic. You created that moment.
Yeah.
How do people come to be one of your warriors, Leland? Like, how do people work with you? Like, I have two people very near and dear to me, one of whom is my father, another one is my friend. Mm-hmm. And ironically, so my dad, so I'm just going to tell the story. And Dad, you can hit just stop at any moment if you just despise this story. So because he probably is going to. So Dad, back in the 70s, my dad was Mr. Yoga Guy. He was all like into like est, which, you know, he was really exploring expanded consciousness. My dad practiced yoga easily for 50 years. And then one day, so we all know from hearing stories that this is taking the turn, Dad was in his 70s and he goes to see a physical therapist. Let's just say, Leland, he was not your physical therapist. And he says to Dad, and my dad had tried everything. He was having a lot of problems with his hips. Now, ironically, and I'm just going to say this as his child, is I was dealing with an ovarian cancer that expressed out into my hip bone. Okay, just saying. Mm-hmm. So he's feeling it in his hips and feeling it in his back. And so he's going to like acupuncturists, chiropractors. I think he saw everybody between California and like Nevada that he could find. Very proactive guy. Finds this one physical therapist that he settles into. And the guy says to him, "You're doing yoga wrong, sir." Thank you. Thank you, Leland. Thank you, Scott. Thanks for those shocking faces from actual people that practice yoga.
Wow.
And that was it. That was the end of Dad ever practicing yoga. It came to a screeching halt, which I don't have to tell you. As two men that practice yoga, you know that the story isn't going in the right direction. Okay?
Wow.
And now I had to give him back the Ram Dass books that I started reading of his when I was like 7 and be like, okay, dude, like, let's do this. And I'm wondering, like, how do people like come to work with you? Like, I'm ready to grab my dad, Leland, and come to Panama. And he's probably like, I don't know if I want these people coming. But
I love it.
booking the reservations, Leland. Like, I'm on my phone.
I love it. I love it. And I welcome you to come down here anytime. I've got guest bedrooms for you all to come and stay. But thankfully, I work with everybody remote as well.
That's what I thought you were going to say. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I can do this anywhere as long as there's, and this is what's great, right? As we're all seeing the videos and hearing the audio, there's proof frequency and energy and vibration is traveling through the ethers so that you can see and hear us right now on this podcast. So in that same way, the breath works that way. The yoga works that way. I don't have to be there with you because you're the one doing the magic anyways. And one of the easiest ways for them to start is they can go onto YouTube and type in the Willful Warrior, and you'll see the phoenix wings with a shape of a heart, which is our logo. Yeah. And we've got a few practices on there. And then there's information, of course, because for me, I recognize that once I nerd out with people and give them the physiological component, I don't do too much of the spiritual side of things because I know they're going to find it on their own. I don't have to let you know my philosophies. I'll give you pieces and parts, and we'll talk about some certain things and what I have, studied in Western and Eastern cultures and all the philosophies. But I simply just nerd out with you and literally tell you what's going to happen inside of this thing when you move through this procedure. And it allows you to surrender. It really does. Because then you're like, oh, okay, now I understand why the body's freaking out while I'm breathing and trying to tell me, no, stop, no, I don't like this. Then you also understand where some of these really blissful feelings that can be quite overwhelming, as Scott knows, can be quite overwhelming at times when you first find this stuff. You're like, whoa, what is that? And it can scare you back a little bit. So you can find me on YouTube. And then when anybody is ready to really dig in on their journey and work with me, they can just send an email to thewillfulwarrior@gmail.com. It's a great way to get in touch with us, or go to the website, which is thewillfulwarrior.org. So either way is a really easy way to get a hold of me, and we can work remotely. And I leave those resources on YouTube there because I want to make sure that people that either A, aren't ready for the journey yet, or don't have the resources to do anything, boom, you've got it right there. There's a minute practice, a 5-minute practice, and a 60-minute practice for the spinal cord injury side of things. And it's a lot of visualization, which is why I made that one public. I was like, okay, you may not be a spinal cord champion, but it's magic for anything. If you're dealing with hypertension, anything with the heart, anything with your neurological system, anything that is inside of the gut as well, magic with those 3 things as far as shifting them. So I'll leave those up there constantly for people.
Fabulous, phenomenal resources that are out there for us. And Leland, you also are a visionary plant medicine practitioner. You work with people.
Yes. Yeah.
What tools in that toolbox, if you don't mind me asking, do you use?
Sure. Yeah. So my 2 medicines that I revere so highly are psilocybin and bufo. Both of them are absolutely magical. It's just bringing you back home again.
Yes.
This whole welcome home theme is everywhere in everything that I do, because it allows you to uncover when you look at plant medicines, here's what the medicine continues to tell me. I'm not necessary. You are the medicine. However, I'm here as a catalyst. I'm here to uncover all the dirt that this world has thrown on top of you and all the trauma has laid on top of you. and all the weight that this world has put on your shoulders. They're absolutely epic with just uncovering those things. And for us, it's not a, here, come hang out with me and let's do some really cool plant medicines and then good luck. It's a 14-week process that we take people through. 6 weeks of psychoanalysis, pharmacology exams to make sure there's no contraindications. Then we move through a 4-day process where you sit with psilocybin, and the day after we move into breath, and we do that on purpose. There are so many times on that second day, I get like emotional. I almost want to start crying right now. There are several times that second day, these people come out of the breath experience, and again, eyes just wide open, like that was as powerful and in some ways more powerful than what I experienced yesterday. And I was like, yes, there you go. That's what we want you guys to get. These are tools. These are tools to bring you back home. You are the medicine of the universe. You truly are.
Would you say that the breath work actually can help you re-access what that psilocybin or plant medicine has done for you, right? That's my experience, is that you can use it, then you end up accessing those things without even having to be working with the psilocybin at that moment. So that's incredible. You're teaching them how to do that in that order, because then it does become soul retrieval, remembering, and then you can access it and then come back to it, of course, as necessary. But that's powerful, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I tell people all the time, and this is the cool part about being the nerdy side and you know, going through the Western education, is I'll let people know, like, look, when you take psilocybin, you ingest it, it becomes psilocin as it moves through the the catalytic process through your body. So now that it's in your gut and it's actually been digested, it becomes psilocin, and that's when it becomes active. And what is that? That's 4-MeO-dimethyltryptamine. Yep. Same thing with Bufo. That's 5-MeO-dimethyltryptamine. Guess what? You have dimethyltryptamine inside of your body already. It's endogenous to you already. Your adrenal glands produce that naturally. Your pineal gland will help to activate dimethyltryptamine. So to your point, Scott, it's like it's a coming home. It's a way of recognizing and uncovering the soul's power to see that, holy crap, I can do this myself. And epic in the experience too, because as anybody that has done plant medicine knows, some of those journeys can be, hold on. And the breath is the way to allow yourself to settle in to that experience, and not just to settle into that experience, but like you mentioned, that you can truly activate that experience for yourself without the plant medicine.
Yes.
Yeah. You can use it to navigate the experience while you're there, and then reaccess the wisdom afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
You know, that was one of the first times, Scott, that I had ever sat with you, and I had not been a visionary plant medicine person at that point. And you had said, wow, trance, Michelle, is just like being in the medicine state. And that's what so many people have said. So it's just that remembering, it's that rejoining what we know from home. And now, as somebody that has been, you know, the Bufo, you know, and the Mimosa Hostilis, coming home, one of the first things that my guides in the visionary state said, your breath. They always tell me that I have to slow my breath way down, that I run like a little rabbit.
Yeah.
You know, and slow. And that's one of the first things that my angel guides will do with me is we breathe together.
Yeah.
And so it's just, breathing is fundamental. I mean, like, you can't live without breath. I mean, that's what animated us, ruach, right? I keep hearing, like, in the Hebrew Bible, you know, God breathed life into us.
Exactly. And you know, to your point, Michelle, even when you read the Upanishads, the Tao, Patanjali's sutras, when you read all of these things, even the Eastern cultures talk about the Om, being the
own.
breath
Sure.
and creation of the existence itself. Like the sound and vibration is what created absolutely everything. And when you breathe, what are you doing? You're creating sound and vibration. You're changing absolutely everything for yourself.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Leland, so very, very much for sharing this space with us, this place, this time with us. And we are forever grateful for this opportunity to just share what we know and to remember to rejoin back to our soul family. So thank you for being part of our family of frequency. We appreciate you. Yeah. Scott, would you lead us out with a quick affirmation for Leland and for our listeners?
Thanks again, Leland. Yes, today, I'm willing to renovate my belief systems and brave enough to receive and activate my intuition. I trust my breath to connect me to this and to remind me of everything.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you all so much for being here with us. We'll look forward to our next time together on Empowerment Unleashed Now. Be blessed, and most importantly, be you. Thank you now. Bye-bye.